This is Three Broken Chairs. We're with you again. We're going to touch a little bit more on COVID tonight. We've had, a bunch of upticks in case numbers and stuff around the country. It's July 14th, 2020, if you're listening to this in the future. So we're kind of on wave 2 of COVID.
West Virginia cases in recent weeks have seemed to either double or substantially increase otherwise. And it does seem like we are finally getting some test results in showing that we may have a couple more COVID cases than we thought. And I do believe we are one of the 5 states who have seen a double in COVID cases.
But are we? Are we seeing, for real, guys, are we seeing more cases or are we seeing more tests being done?
I think it's more tests being done. Me personally, I have not met anybody.
Now, is that statistic changing tests being done, or is that just because tests are becoming more available?
I think it's because tests are becoming more available, and we have the availability to test.
So it's not a malicious.
It's not a malicious thing. Right. No, this isn't something that's downgrading us.
You don't need to go to the hospital. They got a freaking drive-through for the test. So of course you're going to get people that are worried about it.
Exactly.
That's who's being tested.
Exactly.
Well, there's a tent set up outside Med Express. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it is the one that's he's referring to the one in Vienna, West Virginia. Do you guys know if that's a drive-through? Is that they've got a huge parking lot next to Lowe's. I figured you have plenty of parking, but I didn't know if they did a drive-through.
I don't know.
I do believe they just use the tent setup.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah, you're walking up as far as I've.
Have any of you guys been tested since our last air?
No, not myself.
I have not been tested at all.
Really?
Me neither.
Really?
No, I've not been tested yet.
I received a negative.
That's interesting. You haven't been tested yet, even with your trips to California.
Correct.
That's something me personally, I would look into. I'm the more curious cat.
I hear it's getting less invasive. I hear it's getting majorly less invasive.
Yes.
At the beginning, my understanding is that it needed to go all the way up into your nasal cavity. Probably
still does.
We're talking 4 to 6 inches. And now my understanding is that they only need to go in roughly 2 to 3 inches. It's not 4 to 6. It's not up in the cavity where it's as much uncomfortability. It's mostly.
So they're not getting into their nasal.
My dad actually just got tested.
Did he really?
And my brother and sister-in-law. So
now, is that here?
Yes, Dad got tested here. He had a contractor at his house, and there's a possible scare. 2 guys tested positive for COVID. So, immediately, hey, go get tests. However, here's the thing with the test, guys. Those same workers that were at my dad's place, they go and get tested a second time, negative. So, in my personal views, back to him asking me, have I been tested with where I've traveled and this and that, I'm taking the same safety precautions that I do here. Face mask. I was with family only. Sure. I think we went out twice, and California's using the same restrictions here in West Virginia. So, probability-wise, there's no higher risk of me getting it here or there if you look at percentage per population.
So you said that
percent that have COVID to the size of the population.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
They do recommend
San Diego's going to have more cases, but shit, they've got, I don't know, probably millions.
Well, and then how many people are you talking per square foot in somewhere like that? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah. How many people are going to go back for the second and third test to confirm?
Right.
Well, see, and there,
What about the false positive? What about the false?
And they're all different.
Well, there's false negatives too.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, that's another thing you need to consider.
They can miss it, and that's back to the testing. Dad said, in my brother's test, the first one that he and his sister-in-law and my sister-in-law had to get, someone in his engineering office in Dallas, because Texas was a hot spot, right? Texas, California, New York, all hot spots. Florida, I think.
It was any real border and oceanic, any oceanic line state.
Ports.
Obviously.
Ports and borders.
Exactly.
Absolutely. But they said, my sister-in-law made the comment that they got, her boogers from 3rd grade. That's how far they went up the nose.
Wow.
Very painful sounding, no, I'm good.
It does sound a little painful.
I'm just I'm all kinds of good on that. However, Dad said when he took his test, they just the swabs, and they did it themselves.
Really?
So that's where maybe they're not needing to go up as high. Hey, we know Jim's not going to jam this to his brain.
Right. My wonder on that was also they always say West Virginia is a decade behind. So
Two.
are we getting?
Two.
Are we? Yeah. Are we getting old tests at this point? Are we getting the first round of tests at this point, where California is innovating?
Yeah.
And you could get new tests out there.
Well, as far as I know,
I'm sure it's all kinds of things in
draft.
every state. There's a $6 cannabis drug test. And there's, a blood test.
I found one at the Dollar Tree for $1.
Oh,
right, exactly. So, I guess it's the same with any test. Really, as far as research, I have no idea of what they're looking for, what they're testing for. I did hear some weird stuff since we, last met, and one of which was the blood drives. You guys all heard, we need the blood, we need the blood.
That's
well,
something.
And then you have to get tested.
I've seen Blue Cross Blue Shield and some of the other hospitals at the mall.
They're needing blood,
Grand Central Mall. They're frequently there, even if there's nobody there, even if it's an off day, not a weekend.
One conspiracy theory to that blood. So since you guys confirmed that with me, one conspiracy is they're gathering a bunch of blood for DNA to make antivirus. Who knows, man? Nothing's out of reach, but then again, you got to take everything with a grain of salt.
Is there any ability to test for COVID out
I'm
of
very
blood?
curious on what you were just saying there. What were you to make an antiviral?
Yes. Because if everybody's going to give blood,
containment of
they're
white
able to
blood cells
test for COVID still
because
it's
have
a blood.
to.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you can't give that blood to someone else.
But if you've also watched in the news, certain people that have had the virus for 14 days, they've quarantined or whatever else, and they had mild symptoms. They kind of beat the virus essentially, but the test came back positive. For everybody else's sake, they have to quarantine. But those people are going to have to. Oh, they can take their blood, and then they pull the antibodies of what fought the virus, and they build from that.
I see what you're saying.
So
I understand. So it's
they can harvest 2 in 1: blood and antibodies.
The conspiracy here is that you're going to show up to get your COVID, or you're going to show up
blood drive
to your blood drive to give blood.
Yeah.
And they're going to give you the COVID test because obviously you wouldn't. I mean, the guys
right.
here, the guys here, and the conspiracy theory is that you wouldn't be able to give that blood.
They're going to get your DNA,
testing.
and
so then what they're going to do is they're going to do the antibody test on the blood to see if you have the antibodies present. And then use that to make the antiviral? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, apparently.
That's the conspiracy?
Yeah, that's not the conspiracy. The conspiracy is, they have your DNA. And they're going to take... It's like you have to look at things economically.
They already have your DNA.
Yeah,
the DMV got your DNA, bro.
The DMV's had your fingerprints for decades at this point. You know what I mean? It's...
That's what I say with the phone, where you have to sign in with your thumb or retinal scan. It's like... Yeah. Buddy, we've already all been captured. We've already been looking into this phone.
You renewed your license?
Yeah.
Now, on the testing thing still, I heard that if you had the flu, which is a strain of a coronavirus.
COVID.
A coronavirus.
Just coronavirus. Okay. COVID is the novel version to
yes.
our 2019 coronavirus.
Yeah, that is what they have named this specific strain.
I thought, COVID-19, but there's a COVID family from my research.
There's a coronavirus.
Coronavirus family.
Yes, this is just coronavirus.
And that's why you'll find
Didn't they name all the corona COVID to be, PC?
That's why you'll find it on the back of Lysol and things like that.
Yes.
Kills coronavirus.
Okay.
Because this has
that's
been around.
The flu.
Yep.
Yeah.
So my, I guess it's not really a conspiracy theory, but the things that I've been hearing from people is what if you go to get this test and you test positive because you've just got the flu?
Ooh. Okay.
Well,
that's probably somewhere in the false negative, false positive category.
Yeah.
That's probably something where we're seeing inflated statistics on some of these positive cases. Just people are losing their minds, quite frankly, seeing a positive test and going and getting the treatment, going through the follow up, everything in lieu of.
And Eric, you may or may not be like me, where health insurance is a joke for me. It's all pretty much out of pocket. I don't know if that's changed for you, but at one point in time, that was an issue for you. As self-employed for me, when they're like, "Oh, just go get tested," it's like that's probably going to cost me $100.
Oh, yeah.
If it's free, the other thing is
so
I'm
what happened to
asymptomatic.
that? It was supposed to be free. Is it not free?
To my understanding, Blue Cross Blue Shield is offering free COVID testing.
So there's some companies
if that's factual, but to my understanding,
if it's not free, then we need to be in the streets.
Exactly.
I believe they have companies that are stepping up and giving free tests, but I don't know if it's across the board free.
Pandemic,
they're already giving out money.
Pandemic profiting is shady regardless. Regardless, pandemic profiting is shady.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are those companies, though, then going to flip? Who is it? Is it, it's Red Cross. I hate to misspeak, but I believe it's Red Cross that I heard has a very terrible practice of going into disaster-affected areas, saying, yeah, you know, we're gonna set up our tents, we're gonna set up our trucks, we're gonna do lights, we're gonna
help.
Their medical supplies.
They're
we're
with
gonna
FEMA.
have food. We have all these volunteers that are volunteering their time. They're not getting paid a dime. And then when FEMA steps in, when it becomes a federally funded emergency, then Red Cross goes, okay, here's the bills for everything we did. Here's the bills for the medical supplies we gave, the food we gave, the gas we spent. Oh, and also here's the bill for the volunteers' time that we didn't pay them for. But yeah, those were workers.
You'll see that reflected on your taxes, please and thank you.
Yeah, and it'll be
disgusting.
It's going to be reflected in the CEO's salary and bonuses. Is the sick.
That's disgusting. So are these companies that are giving out free COVID testing now? Is that what they're going to do?
I'm sure one form or another, it's an incentive to them in a tax break form or money given to them. If it's tax break, people, please remember that's like taking money they had to pay and putting it back in their pockets. Although they don't really pay much taxes to begin with, so they're just going to jockey it out for some other kind of, you know, lame deduction that they do that's not really helping people, but it's going to an organization profiting off the idea of helping people.
You can pay somebody to spend the time to look for every loophole in the world.
I mean, you gotta have enough money for that one.
You gotta have enough money for that, but you can pay somebody.
There's been so many things that have been going on during COVID. Like, there's so many changes that have been happening. I mean, just for instance, my grandmother can call her doctor and get refills on prescriptions now. Something
without seeing a doctor.
Which
it was a big ordeal and cost you extra money.
It was a HIPAA violation. Unless you had special contractual things, because they had to have special programs for you to use and things. Otherwise, it was a HIPAA violation because you can't use things like they're using now. I literally looked into this. You can use Facebook Messenger.
I have to stop you.
You can use Signal.
I have to stop you, and I'm really sorry to do this. You just touched on HIPAA. Or you guys are aware, you know, when you talked about me, you know, did you go get the test? You guys do understand if you test positive for COVID-19, you have no HIPAA rights.
Yep. You waive it entirely.
You waive that.
You are now
a potential threat to the United States of America, and you don't have any rights.
And
is basically how I read it.
And
I did not read that.
Yes.
You will be treated as
then they can go into your Google. They can track everywhere you've been. They can go to, you know, hey, I've been with you. So they come to your door. You're quarantined. Hey, you're quarantined. Okay. I got to be at work. Okay. I got to earn money. What do you mean? I have to stay here.
Are we touching on the app that they put it on our phones to track us and everything? Are you talking about the COVID trackers?
No, I'm talking about you know, this is an active thing on different YouTube videos and different things that I've watched that and it makes sense. Think of a zombie apocalypse. Somebody's just been bitten. You need to put them in a safe zone against their will so that they don't infect a bunch of people. If you're dealing with that deadly of a virus, that's what they set this up for.
Right. So
but I'm just stating a fact. You don't have HIPAA rights if you test positive for COVID. That nurse can tell this person and that person and this person and shame you into quarantine. You lose a lot of rights.
You know what? There's quite a few videos out there as well showing the same thing. Positives at hospitals, police force comes in, detained, and they get drove off. I mean, it's
detained without arrest.
Detained without arrest. It's not arrested. You are detained, and there's a difference.
So back to what you were saying, Eric. I cut you off with the HIPAA stuff. I just wanted to point that out that like you don't have any HIPAA rights. So now your mom's able to call and get her prescriptions filled. That's considered a HIPAA violation without seeing the doctor. Is what you were talking on.
Well, it wasn't that it was a HIPAA violation to do that. I mean, I believe there was a lot of strings you had to, you know.
You had to sign off on as an individual.
Yeah, sure. But now they're using Facebook Messenger, Signal, WhatsApp, things like that.
How do they ensure a HIPAA? Is what you're saying?
To communicate with each other, which is completely disallowed via HIPAA.
You
are only allowed to use confirmed, verified
telehealth.
Yes, there you go.
Yes.
Applications and programs and
that makes sense.
Like
telecommunication,
telehealth communications.
There you go.
Right, and then now we're using these unsecured, and really the only thing you're not allowed to use is what they're calling public-facing apps. Basically,
Zoom, things of that nature.
They can use Zoom.
They can use Zoom?
Zoom is now. Zoom
is how they're doing it.
Well, really? Zoom is now trying to. Oh my God, Zoom has had such a crazy boom during COVID.
Yes.
I mean, they are literally scrambling every minute of every day.
I wonder what their stock is trading at.
Right now, their health.
That's a good question.
They're trying to do Zoom Health. So they're trying to put like a whole other section on Zoom to do that. Anyway, getting off topic.
Right.
So the only thing that you can't use right now is what they call public-facing apps, Twitch, TikTok, things like that. And it's just super strange to me that we would be in a period of time where things like that are both amazing for people like my grandmother and terrifying in situations in West Virginia like pill mills, where you're telling me that now you can just give pills to whoever you want.
Now I can sit on my phone, open it up, stare in the face of my doctor, and get a delivery at my door.
They can have an appointment and diagnose you via a video appointment
and have you the pills in less than an hour.
Yeah, there are opioid disorder pills that they can prescribe you. I don't have the name for it. It was a long B word, but I
buprenorphine.
That's exactly it. They can literally prescribe that over the phone now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is a highly addictive narcotic.
Similar to like Suboxone.
That is Suboxone.
Oh, okay.
That's the main ingredient in Suboxone. Sure. But what I'm getting at is that's what their agenda was, guys. How did we get into the opiate crisis? Nobody was checking Big Pharma. Everybody's worried about COVID, and they're looking to Big Pharma for the answer in the antivirus. So now it's like free reign. It's just like with a lot of things that we're going to touch here in a little bit with my industry and how they're getting away with murder and just wiping industries out, reformatting, putting these people in a position of the upper hand and competitiveness because this store's allowed to be open, this one's not.
I'm sure privatized healthcare and privatized insurance companies.
But they want to be selling their pills. Big Pharma makes more money if people are taking more pills. So it's like everybody has more mental cases being at home, being separated, being segregated, not being able to go to the gym, not being able to socialize. They're gonna have problems. And guess what? Big Pharma, who we're looking for as the savior in this case with COVID, has the solution, and they're making bank off of it.
And oddly enough,
is just any pill you want.
And oddly enough, we're the only country who you can sit at home during the quarantine and watch advertisements fly across your television for those drugs you might just ask your doctor for on Zoom.
Yes.
Man, isn't that odd?
Yes.
Isn't that
They
odd?
force you to watch the ads, and then they put you on the phone with the doctor.
Right.
Design. It's by design.
Crazy.
But another thing, we're talking about basically using COVID for them to blindside or to boost an industry like Big Pharma. This is obviously going to help Big Pharma because more people are depressed, more suicides, more addiction rates. You talked about the Suboxone being pushed. Yeah, they sell more Suboxone the more people that are hooked. They sell more depression pills the more people that are depressed. But something else that they've been working on in my line of work is these bans on flavored vaping products. We had a lot of different states.
And that's been going on for a while.
Absolutely. The New York State, they tried their flavor ban and they increased a huge tax. Virginia came out with a tax. Louisiana came out with a tax.
Are they doing this all at the same time?
This is during COVID. This is during the same time they're telling vape businesses they can't operate for their safety. But then they're
going to turn around and
state
ban you at the
reps.
same time.
Their state reps are
geez.
Yeah, they're meeting up.
Yeah.
And, Colorado had one, I don't know the specifics on it, but basically it was a deal that Big Tobacco was trying to make with the state that made them exempt on, I think, 50% of the tax. So they were paying 50% less because they were a higher volume customer.
Now, how does that work with somewhere like Colorado has their own state constitution?
Well, Colorado's a whole different. I really think that's a bad thing.
Sure.
I don't think that's a bad thing. It's just Big Tobacco. Big Tobacco's got their hooks in every state with their budget, with their taxes that they're getting on cigarettes. However, Colorado's very interesting because they're already in a surplus from the cannabis industry. So somebody needs to call out some people in Colorado about some of their shady representatives that are in bed with Big Tobacco for personal gain, because your state certainly doesn't need it for the teachers or the schools.
Yeah, all that extra money flowing, wonder where it's going to go.
Yeah.
It's going to go up.
But I just thought it was crooked as
They're so grandfathered in, though. It's so weird, the comparison between something like tobacco and alcohol. Tobacco has never been banned in the United States. Tobacco has always been here. Tobacco has been here since our forefathers' forefathers.
Right.
And as such, has such a deep hold in every bit of everything, and they will get their way.
And history.
They will get their way.
It's
so terrifying to be a
Hollywood.
vapor. It's so terrifying to be a vape. Oh my God, Hollywood. You're not seeing anybody vaping in a movie?
No, they're still smoking.
Hell yeah, smoking's cool.
Even though percentage-wise, more people of the ages that they're depicting in the films are vaping.
Exactly. But that's Can you imagine? Can you imagine Big Tobacco's reaction if you had a hit blockbuster film and they're vaping and not smoking?
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple of them that Dave Chappelle. I mean, Dave Chappelle switched to vape.
He made the switch.
I didn't know that.
That was a big move.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
You will see him on every
it was one of the, I think
one of his sets with that in his hand.
That's awesome.
You will.
But he would never do stand up without a cigarette. You know, he would tell him straight up, if I can't smoke, I'm not coming. I believe. Yeah.
I appreciated his honesty in that regard, but I find it surprising that although it's only 15% of people who use tobacco products, whether that be smoking, chew, snus, pouches, regardless of what you call it, what you use, I mean, it does have this unbelievable economic power in the country. Like, it's and like you said, it's been here for generation after generation, generation. It makes a money trail kind of.
People think the alcohol industry is strong.
Sure.
Oh my God! Try to fight Big Tobacco.
Try to fight Big Tobacco.
And in Eric and I's line of work, we see tobacco use on a wow. People will spend their last $5 at one of our
at the beginning
stores.
At the beginning of this year, we saw the disappearance of Juul flavors. We saw Juul getting sold by Altria. They don't want to be a part of that anymore if there's not going to be flavors because they know they're not going to make their money on it. And now, after COVID, everybody's been sneakily putting in their PMTAs, which Corey can maybe tell us a little bit more about. I don't really know what that stands for. It's like a tax application or something. So now I've got representatives from big tobacco corporations coming in and telling me, hey man, we're getting flavors back. Hey man, they're coming back. Tell your customers, we've got 99-cent devices and flavors are coming back.
Yeah. And that's real. I mean, it's like you've got Michael Jordan on your basketball team and you're playing, some elementary school team, you're going to win. I mean, they know they're going to get approved. And what PMTA stands for is pre-market tobacco application.
Okay.
And what that is, in 2016...
Is that where, I heard something about that. Is that where, what's the layman's terms for it that I heard? Like, you have to prove that any new tobacco product
you have to prove every health
specifically different than any other tobacco product on the market.
You have to prove whatever health statements you want to make, like the 97, 98% safer than smoking or any claims. You have to prove that. So you have to prove that there's no long-term harm from the inhalation of your flavors.
Is that why other nicotine cessation products don't necessarily say that? They don't. Sometimes they
absolutely.
They say it's not safer. It's just maybe better.
They came in after 2016, where it was like, hey, you can't just come out and make these statements. In the early days of this industry, you had a bunch of cowboys in business that the first time just really having success stories, and they didn't know all the avenues of different things that you can or can't do when you have a health product. Or a tobacco product in this case, now that they've deemed it that. So, it's just a matter of whether or not they're going to file it. I mean, Big Tobacco, RJ Reynolds, Altria, they already have, when they want a new cigarette on the market, they have to do this PMTA process.
Right.
So this isn't new to them. Us small independent vapor companies, even the companies that I know that I've worked with over the last 4 or 5 years that have developed into $10-30 million companies, they cannot afford the process and we'll just call it paperwork of just jargon that has to be said.
The legal red tape,
right? And the cost of the test, the lab test, what you have to pay the independent labs to give you the data, and that data then goes into your report. I was told by somebody that it's like 1.5 inches thick, their PMTA submission, and that's for one SKU.
Wow.
Of course, when you have the money to make that happen.
Yeah, and it's going to be like $1 million to $3 million per SKU.
That is
now, in my company, I have 3,600 SKUs. You guys are familiar. That's like 200-300 flavors in 3 different variations and 3 different sizes of bottles. But it's still only 300 flavors.
Right.
Yep.
But it translates into 3,600 SKUs because I put a little bit more nicotine. It's just like caffeine.
And you have to apply for each SKU too. And you have to apply for each SKU.
Yes.
And people aren't understanding that when you're looking at it and saying, hey, we need to vote on this. They're telling us we need to put
each one of my barcodes needs to be scanned and paid for.
Yes.
separately, and I have to spend millions of dollars to apply for that differently. And it's so ridiculous that you're telling me a 30 milliliter bottle and a 60 milliliter bottle are both going to cost you $3 million.
And spend the time
even though it's the
waiting
same
for
ingredient inside.
Even though it's the same. And spend the time waiting for it to be approved, have that mailed back
Well,
to you,
here's the
and
thing
then
about
get that
here's the
finally on
thing
your shelf.
here's the thing about the
and Big Tobacco is getting joyrided right on through.
Right,
Absolutely.
right. And in the time that you might be waiting to, they're probably going to try to pass something along.
Well, here's the
money
thing
on some
that-
bill somewhere.
Here's the reason.
Make it easier
to make
for
it
Big
easier
Tobacco
for you.
and harder for you as a
Exactly.
small
And
independent.
here's
Exactly.
the reason for us to educate people about this. So once you submit a PMTA, and I think just the submission cost, so it's just like a entry fee.
Right,
You're
right.
playing in a 5-on-5 basketball tournament. Hey man, there's a $5 entry
Right.
fee.
Buy
So-
in to buy more.
So the entry fee, I believe, is like only $100,000 per SKU or something to that nature. So the good news is, some of my buddies that are in the industry,
He said only.
they're well, to some of the guys that I work with, I mean, that's
only
that's
money.
that's not as large as it is to
Substantial.
you or
Right.
I.
Right.
In their, especially in their companies that are worldwide.
When
but
you're a $1 billion business,
they are
$100,000
filing their
leverage around
PMTAs.
is-
They are filing their PMTAs, just like
Sure.
Eric. Eric didn't get any paperwork. He got verbal confirmation from his sales rep from Big Tobacco saying, hey, just to let you know, we're putting our PMTAs in. It's going to be here for another year and a half. And, you should tell your friends. Because your friends are going to be looking for places when they shut places like mine down from having them.
And not only that, they're going to have
They're
a rep.
going to need new plugs.
They're going to have a rep hang around in the store as well, handing out gift cards for free cigarettes.
They do, and they do. I mean, how
You
many
can't
times-
advertise, you can't display product info, but you sure can pass out
Word of
coupons
mouth is
for
king.
2 packs for $2.
Yeah.
Yep. 2 packs of the most expensive cigarettes they carry for $2.
Now let's remind you guys. Okay, so just like with Big Tobacco and their pod style devices, these guys are colonial money. They had money from Britain before we
Colonial money.
Wow.
That's such a good
Wow.
way to put it.
old money, so they can operate at a loss for 3
Yeah.
And that
years.
should be an indication of
Giving
Operated
shit
at a loss
away.
for
2
3
packs
years?
of $10 cigarettes for $2. That's
Just imagine if
that's
somebody
unbelievable.
did that in any gas station in America.
Could you do
Who
that?
else would
Could
sell
you do
the
that
most?
at your store, Corey?
No. But I guarantee that product, the 2 packs of cigarettes for $2, that's gonna outsell everything on your shelves.
Absolutely
by
everything.
economics alone.
When I smoked cigarettes, I didn't even smoke those. But I tell you what, $2 for 2 packs is a heck of a deal.
Well, when you're used to paying $10,
Exactly, and that's just one of the
That's
ways they
two-
keep you
that's
hooked.
two
That's one of the
biggie-sized
ways the
meals
hooks,
after that,
the
you know?
claws stay dug. That's just another way, and you're right. That's food money at that point.
Well, it's the old school drug pusher method. Here you go. I'll give you a taste.
But we'll go back in and we'll touch more on it. But I just want everybody out there, listeners, vapors, vapors that want to keep their rights to choose flavors and choose flavors from companies that aren't the problem. They're actually the solution only. They're not selling the problem and the solution. I think that's morally wrong.
Everybody needs to stay
If they're really
active.
about helping people, switch all the way over. Otherwise, get out the race and just keep giving people cancer for all I care. I
your
don't want people to get
representative.
cancer. I'm just saying that's their goal and their motive.
Yeah.
Call your representative, stay active, do your part, sign a petition, see what you can do.
And
It's upon us. It's in our laps.
And we'll give you plenty of information in one of our later podcasts. But I do want to touch, like they were saying earlier on, I was doing some traveling. I had a death in the family. I had to go help some family in California in San Diego County, actually. And just want to talk about COVID changes and what, there for a while we thought life was back to normal, opening the gyms, Memorial Day weekend, everybody went
Not
to the
even
beach.
close. Not even close.
Right,
Oh, no.
right. I mean, so...
Oh, everyone went to the beach. Oh, yeah, let me talk about that. So everyone went to the beach. They're pissed for 3 months because they can't freaking go anywhere. They go to the beach, and what do? They trash it.
Yep.
They leave all their crap there, and they trash it.
Well, of course.
What kind of people are you?
Spring breakers, college
Spring
kids.
Yep. Ignorant.
Honestly,
I mean,
there's no excuse for it, but I would say that's the demographic. And
Really?
yeah,
realistically,
I feel
though,
because they didn't get to have
Real-
the spring break.
realistically though, who else can stay
Or senior
quarantined
trip.
out of work for months and then all of a sudden pop out a vacation to Myrtle Beach, Florida, yada.
$1,200 stimulus.
Exactly.
Well,
exactly.
oh, yeah. That's when the TVs were sold out at
It's-
Walmart.
Yeah.
You can almost judge the moral constitute of somebody by their decisions that they have made with.
Yeah,
You know.
absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit. What's it look like? Tell our listeners that they could be anywhere in the country. Tell them what it's like in our local grocery stores, Walmart. What stores are open? What stores aren't?
Well,
is there a mask mandate? Are people following?
I have a great
Let's talk with the
example
West
of this.
Virginia, Ohio, Mid-Ohio Valley area first.
I run a shoe department inside of a mall location. Now, we as a company, we require a mask being worn inside of our location at all times. If you would like to shop with us, we ask that you would wear a mask. I myself am regulated slightly by our mall location, and meaning they police and they actively pursue those without. Now, in a mall location, you might receive 1,200 people during the day, 1,500 if we're lucky. Realistically, a weekend, we might see 22, 25, somewhere in there. Now, if you have 5 security guards at a mall trying to police 200-300 people at a time who just frankly don't care, there's going to be a time where I see half of my store without a mask, and I have no ability to say anything.
Are you seeing these people without a mask? Then, like, because you're saying they're policing.
1,000%. I don't mean to discredit in any way, but you can't realistically police that many people at a time.
Correct.
And that's just not something that it seems like the public is really, I don't want to say too concerned about, but there's definitely a majority that does not seem like it's a factor at the moment.
Constitutionally, because of the Disabilities Act, you don't know. This is the hardest part in our state, where there's a lot of arguments and people that are privy to know the law.
I'm not allowed to ask for paperwork.
Exactly.
I can't ask if you have a breathing condition.
You don't have to disclose medical
I
information.
got in trouble for asking someone if that was a service dog.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have to have a vest on.
Exactly.
I'm not
You don't
allowed
have to
pets
have
in my
any.
store, period. We don't want animal hair on the shoes we're
Wow,
trying to
I
sell.
wonder why.
I wonder why, right?
Absolutely.
I cannot tell the lady with the Amazon purchase vest on her little poodle she's carrying around that she can't have that thing in
You
there
can almost see the
because she
Amazon
plain
logo
can't.
on
But
it.
I mean, genuinely.
But your company can't put itself in a standpoint where it's like,
Exactly.
we
The
might get a
liability,
lawsuit
exactly.
because it
I
was
can't
really a
put
service
myself-
dog and
Yeah.
it affected her anxiety.
I can't
Oh,
put that
God
into my
forbid.
liability.
God
If that's
forbid.
something I wanted to concern myself on my day, then I would have my head
Right, but
left,
that's the
right,
same
and
thing
center.
now. And there's the same kind of people now who are going, I don't need to wear a mask. It makes me not be able to breathe. When you're asking,
infringing.
when you're
I'm
asking
sorry.
18-year-olds to go to fight for war and wear gas
Right,
masks,
exactly.
when you're asking your doctor to wear a mask when he
I can
performs
buy a
surgery
Glock when
on
I'm
you
18.
That's
but
for
man,
your
you gotta
job.
wait.
when you've got doctors performing
Hold on.
surgeries for how many
Hold
freaking
on.
hours and they've got a mask on?
I understand where you're
That's
coming from.
that's your requirement for your job. It's a requirement to wear the mask in my stores.
It's a requirement
because
for me
we're
as well.
state mandated. The state has the control then to pull my license through the health department,
My health
or
department-
fine me, just like vaping indoors. It's just like that. Mid-Ohio Health Department has to enforce it. And, they can't really enforce it if somebody's in your business not wearing a mask because
Right.
you don't have the right to ask them.
Exactly. My health department will stop in at this point, but you might as well call it weekly, making sure that every one of my employees have a mask on.
Really?
They're sanitizing everything.
Well, they probably hit everybody at once
yes.
at the mall.
They
huh?
did, 100%, and it's a round trip for them. It's an easy stop, so we'll see them a little bit more frequently. Fire code for us has changed twice now. Originally, I think it was 7 people per 1,000 square feet we could have in the store. Went down to 5 people.
You're
per
allowed
1,000.
5 people
Now
per
we're
1,000.
allowed 2 people per 1,000 square feet. My store went from having the ability to hold 80 people in it at a time, roughly 12,000 square foot, call it a warehouse realistically,
Yeah.
80 people in at a time, down to 20.
Yeah.
I can have roughly 20 people in the store at any given moment. And on top of that, my stock rooms don't count for square footage. My
'cause
bathrooms
people aren't
don't
allowed
count
in
for,
there.
Exactly, because they aren't allowed in there. That's something they've revised.
I
since. It
thought
seems
that,
like
yeah,
there
that
might
is
be
a
monthly
revision.
code. There is
because
it is a
you
revision.
think about the
Sure.
space
Sure.
that you're all breathing.
And I understand that entirely. That's never been something that
Now
I've complained
it's
about
close
too much.
quarters. You're worried about.
But
Should we
the
have-
5 to 2 people has seemed you're cutting now into business profit and my customer basis. Instead of coming in asking where the sandals
It's
are,
harder
they're
for
coming
you to
in.
sell shoes.
It's
Bottom
so
line.
much- I was 10,000 down profit.
Damn.
Easy, no question. It has
That
been
hurts.
rough across the board.
And I feel like too when in California you have to wear a mask outside. I mean, they want you
yeah.
wearing a mask all the time. It was so ridiculous. They couldn't make you wear one in the gym through some mandate.
Really?
But when you're on the tile, so imagine, Planet Fitness, there's that
Forced
tile there
oxygen deprivation,
by the
sure.
desk, and then the rest is the foam mats. when you're on the tile, you have to wear a mask. As soon as you step off of that 2 feet to your left, you can take it off. But by God, if you don't have that mask, hit the tile when the door opens. Come back when you got one. Yeah, oxymoronic.
I appreciate the attempt to make some kind of better, but at the same time, there needs to be some kind of solidified guideline. It's either we are...
Logic.
Just
logic.
No,
come
we can't
on,
have
buddy.
a solidified. We can't have a solidified guideline if half of our population is A, not wearing a mask, or
and B, doesn't care.
Excuse me, a third of our population is not wearing a mask. A third of our population is wearing the mask below their nose.
Oh, God.
And the other third of the population just couldn't give a damn regardless.
And secret option C, the ones cutting holes in their masks. That's another brilliant idea.
What?
I love that. You haven't seen that.
I mean...
Oh, it makes it easier to
But
breathe.
it's the same...
Right.
They're making a political OSHA statement with that. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Read your latest OSHA mandates.
Speaking of OSHA
for
mandates,
N95 masks and what they protect you from,
You can't
or the
be-
people around you. That's why they're cutting holes in the mask, saying this is stupid.
according to OSHA currently, you can't be 3 feet off the ground without being tethered.
Correct.
What is that? What I can't climb a ladder in my store without my D-ring attached to it?
I mean, I'm sure there was somebody that was vertically challenged.
Blew me away.
That was getting up on this. I mean, it's like there's a
Vertically
reason there's
Yeah,
hot coffee on the side of a McDonald's
Right.
cup. Like,
You're right.
I wonder if this is cold. Let me pour it on my lap and get $5 million.
Hey, no. To be fair, that lady had every right to sue them. That
I
coffee
agree.
was way too damn hot.
I
That lady
agree.
had
Have
every
you
right
seen
in the
those
world.
burns?
Yes,
wow,
I
that
have.
was
She
way
was
too hot.
justified. I am never going to question that decision once in my life. She was justified.
That was something we laughed about in high school,
that was
and then
something we
I
laughed
saw the
about.
pictures and I was like, whoa.
Social media became a thing. It was
Oh,
more than
no.
MySpace, and you see what it actually was. Photos come out that you didn't see before. Good Lord.
Have you guys seen the new tech that's been coming out? Like basically laser tag vests that Amazon and Google and all the big tech companies are using, that it will beep and it will log up in the office to make sure that all your employees in the warehouse are maintaining the safe social distance, and it'll tell.
Shut up.
I swear to God, this is all
Yeah.
front news in Cali, because they're hardcore about it. I mean,
Amazon
here everybody's
warehouses are one of the-
everybody's doing whatever out there. They're developing high dollar tech that companies are gonna have to
West
buy. This
Virginia's
isn't
20
going
years
away.
behind, man. West
This-
Virginia's 20 years behind. You got to keep
Yeah.
that in mind.
Yes, this isn't going away. I mean, they're totally setting this up for a long-term thing or future viruses. We're not a country like China where we build all of that equipment for SARS and then just set it aside for 20 years later. We're capitalists. We're not communists of, hey, we'll need this eventually. We have it built. We'll use it. We don't need profit.
No, wait a minute. Now on the other side of that coin, now
That stash of tanks came in handy for him at one point.
I agree.
not only that, but that's why we're installing the iPhone COVID tracker and we're doing all of these crazy seeming things because we realize how drastically underprepared we were.
Right.
We have no way to decide Ricky was around, Corey was around, Eric was around anybody unless I decide that I'm going to tell you and if I can remember. So now, if you decide to download the app and enable the setting, your phone will be able to report
All of your personal
other Bluetooth signals that your phone has come in contact with. If one of those Bluetooth signals within the last 48 hours then gets flagged, your phone will alert you. Hey, someone within your near area within the last 48 hours has been flagged. It's not your personal information, it's a signal.
And I know
just
this
as much
is-
as your watch, your car, anything is putting out a signal that can be intercepted.
Yeah, it all is.
This
It
is the
all
Anything can be
contemporary in
intercepted.
me, and I know, but good Lord, that seems
It's
like a
just,
lot.
People are...
They're
people
losing
understand.
freedoms with it. There's a plus and there's a bonus and there's a scientific need and health need for those.
How
things.
is it that you're losing a freedom when it's an opt-in?
You don't think that they're not going to be able to say, hey, this person came in contact, he needs to be quarantined? We're
It's
going to
an
force a
opt-in.
test?
It's an opt-in.
Well, what are you opting in for exactly?
To download an app and enable the setting to for your phone to be on that.
You're
I
not,
wasn't aware. I
you're
thought
not
it was
opting-
downloading.
You're
No,
not
it's-
opting
it's-
in for them to say, hey, you have to go get tested. You have to go get tested or we're going to detain you
might
and
be.
make you.
I'm not contending that. I'm just saying that no one is telling you have to do anything.
Right.
Now, if you choose to get the app and you're doing all that, I mean, look into it for yourself.
I would like to, because that seems
That's not something
much.
I'm going to download.
Oh, it's not
I'm not
something
concerned.
right.
About. I just spent 50 hours of my week every week for the last 6 months working during this with no mask until it was mandated 2 weeks ago.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, now at my store, if you want to come into my store, you've got to have a mask.
It was only 2 weeks ago.
I've got
for you and your employees or the public.
It was only when good old Jimmy Justice
let me
came on the
rephrase.
television.
How long have you guys
You're
been
a corporation.
wearing masks?
So you're going by national guidelines. You guys, your company was given national guidelines, and you're following those. So you're wearing masks the whole time.
I'm curious because my company shut down for quarantine. Yours did not.
Correct.
My regulations were as soon as we opened, masks are on.
Yes.
When was the switch over? I suppose.
There was
when
not.
was there
unless it was company
a definite?
policy.
Unless it was company policy. Oh gosh, that is not.
Or for your own safety, if you chose to.
Yeah.
And I believe your employer provided PPE. That was all that was required during this. I mean, it may not have been.
No,
we had gloves.
We were, as of,
but
I think it
right,
was
right,
May, I do
right.
believe was the first time my company at least was given the ability to hand out gloves, masks.
But to get
things
some of the
that nature.
money from the government in the PPE, maybe not the PPE, but the different loans and stuff, you got to put up this plexiglass stuff. Didn't you notice it all popping up around the same time?
I had
First
a
was
plexi pop,
Walmart
too.
and the big, you know.
You had to have.
You get so much of a deduction for
My
putting that
plexi
up.
got shipped to my store, and we received that the day I saw
got it.
Walmart's plexi up.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, granted, we weren't open. We didn't have the ability to use that by any means at that
Right.
point, but we saw that the day Walmart had theirs up. So, I would imagine there was a hard line. I mean, I know this was back in probably mid-April, late March when I received mine.
So take me through like a normal day for you, Ricky. You've mentioned that you have to wear it at work or whatever else.
Sure.
But, you know, you get up, you go get coffee. You know, tell me, can you go inside the store? Can you sit down and dine? What's it like, you know?
A bit of perspective for me as a shoe store that's a little bit more personal, something you might have a little bit more close contact with than, say, J.C. Penney's, where you're grabbing a piece of clothing, trying it on, taking it and running. I'll have, for example, there's we'll say client and customer who comes in, sits with a row of shoes around them, tries them all on, and leaves them sitting out. And I tell you what, that's a commonality for a shoe store.
Yeah.
We will have hundreds of people. And
I
at a
mean
mall
more.
location.
I mean more of like you know. You get up. You have to get gas. You stop at the gas
Okay.
station. Tell me, like, when are you having to wear a mask? Where are you allowed inside? Because I want to talk about what it's like on the other side of the country.
Every time I leave the house, I have the mask with me. Whether it's on my face is a question. It could be hanging off of my ear in preparation to be strapped on when I walk inside of the mall location to get ready to go to work.
Obviously.
Strapped on when I'm going to the gas station, but riding around in my car, it's not something that I feel like I would ever have any question from any outside authority on whether or not I'm doing the right thing at the moment.
Right. But you go to let's say you go to Starbucks. Can you sit down at Starbucks today, guys? McDonald's, Burger King. Can you go inside?
I don't go to any of those places.
I don't either.
I sat down at a Wendy's about a week ago for the first time.
Okay.
And
Okay. So that was open. That
Yes.
was open. Okay.
Yes, as far as I know, I think we do have all fast
And did you
food
have to wear a
locations,
mask to be
restaurants.
inside?
Yes.
Really?
While we were
So-
sat down eating, no. While we were in any point without contact with our food, yes.
So what I was trying to get into with that was, when you come in my store, it's mandated now by Granddaddy Jimmy Justice there,
Right.
Our governor.
our good old governor of West Virginia.
West Virginia. By God.
He said that in West Virginia, in any building, you need to be wearing a facial covering. Now, I've got people calling my store and saying, do I need to wear a facial covering if I come in your store? Ma'am, in the state of West Virginia, yes, you do. Now, when they come in the store and they're not wearing a mask, per the Disabilities Act,
Yeah, I don't
have the ability
and
to say
also my ability to effectively get
Stop.
other people out of the store and not cause a scene and cause more than my allotted amount of people per the new fire codes in my store at one time, I need to just let them get their things and get out. Most likely, the people that do have masks on are going to stay 6 feet from them. They have heard to stay 6 feet from people, and it's almost easier just to let them fly by the seat of their pants. So now I'm going to Walmart and I'm seeing people, the same people that I'm seeing at my store, Where's your mask? I saw you wear it at my store. Where's your mask?
Right.
Oh, it's in my pocket. I don't want to wear it.
I feel like a lot of the policy enforcement is based upon the fact you almost have to intimidate these people into doing what is asked
Into
of
compliance.
them. And that's you're inciting it.
So is it compliance or is it something else?
Exactly.
I mean, that's the biggest question with the mask.
Blame me the devil's advocate, but I feel like that's where the infringing on the rights argument comes from. Mm-hmm. Do I agree with that? Yep. No, but do I at least kind of see that?
I'm gonna throw this in here right now. My body, my choice. That's what I've been seeing on a lot of memes and T-shirts with the face mask instead of the abortions. So now it's a flip narrative. But do they have the same argument?
Me personally, in my heart of hearts, I don't think so.
I think they do, but I think every store has the right to make its own rules inside their doors, and there's company policies that have to be followed. I mean, if you don't want to wear a mask, don't come inside.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't think...
Well, the no shirt, no shoes, no service. You know what I mean? That's been...
Yeah.
Eric, how long have you seen that, buddy?
Yeah.
You know, and it's... I have that all the time.
More importantly, how many times have they enforced that on you, Eric? I feel like you would be the guy like me, like, I forgot my shoes at the house and shirt. I'm going to still go and try to get a pop.
No, I don't do that. No, I went home the other day to get my face mask because I stepped a foot in the door, looked over, saw they had face masks on, and went, dang, I forgot we're doing face masks now.
Yeah.
Drove the 3/4 miles home.
Common courtesy for your peers.
Yeah. That's exactly how it should be.
I like that.
And it didn't inconvenience you.
It's shopping cart theory.
Yes.
Sure.
It's shopping cart theory.
Yes.
You know, there's no one watching me. I am an employee of Speedway, and if I wanted to go in, when I went back, the owner, the GM of that store said, oh, you went all the way home for your face mask? It's not that big a deal.
Oh, man.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. I'm setting the standard
Personal and public safety.
Not only for me, not only for the people around me, but I'm setting the standard as an employee of this company as well. And
good representation.
For the public. An example for the public.
Setting
if I
an
walk into a store and they all have face masks on and I don't, exactly what you said.
So
forgot we were doing this.
The no shirt, the no shoes, the no shirt thing.
Yeah.
I can sympathize with it, and I might say, hey man, stop. You don't have shoes on. We break a lot of glass in here, and if anything happens, I'm waving my arms around. I'm making a big scene. If anything happens, it's on camera. I'm pointing at them. I'm telling them what it is. There's glass. We break it in here. If you step on something, it's not on me, man.
I didn't think of that.
Come on in.
Well,
you're just gonna get a soda. You're gonna not necessarily. So you're gonna grab that one thing out of the cooler and come right up to the register. It's 95 degrees outside, and you just hop out the car, or you just walked up here. Sure, I get it. I'm not gonna give you that trouble. Same thing.
By the time you serve them and get them out the doors, it's about the same time to deal
you
with
just
it.
forgot the
So
face
you
mask,
just
man.
found
The
money.
worst thing that's going to happen is you catch COVID. And you might, I hear that, but at the same time, when you give an inch, you let the mile be taken.
And that's exactly where I was leading with this.
Sure.
That's exactly where I was leading with this. Is, I've found that those same people that are like, all right, it's okay if your kid doesn't wear shoes in here this time.
Yep, then the family takes the mask off.
Dad's going to come in with no shirt. She's going to pull the money out of her bra and give me the sweaty money. And
that opens the door to the next one.
Or that opens the door to the next one. In my case, I get a lot of, it's summertime. They have their kids. They don't have babysitters. They bring the kid in. They know the rules, and they look at me, and it's like, I know you're going to put that child in a hot car. So
for our listeners, he runs an age-restricted shop. He runs a vape shop, which is now at this point a 21 and over in the country.
Buy a Glock, but you can't buy vape until you're 21.
That's correct.
So you are not meant to be able to bring your kids in there, and you could probably get in pretty significant trouble if you had anybody in there that reported it.
And the hardest part of that is looking at mothers or fathers, because there's a lot of single dads, just as many as moms out there, I'm here to tell you. And they don't have anybody to watch the kids for them to make a quick trip to the store. And it's like, I got to tell them, like, hey, you go to your car, I'll come out to your car. And, I'll service you that way. And you stay in the car with the kid, no laws are broken. So that's usually my solution
to it. So that's
to
where the car service came in for you guys.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because it came out of passion, I'm sure. You don't want to turn that person down and let them go to the gas station and pick up that pack of cigarettes. You want to keep them.
Real quick, though, Ricky, kind of close things up here about the differences in West Virginia and traveling out west of California. People here are kind of just like, fuck it. I'm not wearing a mask or I'm not doing anything, that I don't want to, whatever else.
It's a resounding theme.
They're not scared. California has a different fear about it. Everybody's wearing their mask. You're not having to argue with people. They know what the rules are. The beaches, that's a different story. They're not getting people to comply on the beaches, but they shut LA down again. There's no in-dine restaurants. Yes.
Oh, man.
No more in-house dining. That's what I was asking. Can you go inside these places here locally in West Virginia?
You can.
Well,
100%.
and I think in Texas and other places on some of the borders, I believe you can. Now, I've got people coming up here from Texas now to get away from that. They're trying to get away from that. He got upset. Somebody that I know in my personal life got upset because he's like, "Oh, I left, and we didn't have to do any of this."
Wow.
We didn't have to do any of these things, and now I'm hearing from all my friends that if I come back, I've got to wear a mask everywhere I go, and I've got to do this and that and the other. And I understand it's a certain point of compliance, and people are concerned that it's a certain point of compliance, and people are concerned that if you give an inch, they're going to take a mile. But if you tell me that me taking a small, minute amount of uncomfortability is going to protect the larger amount of people, why would I not do that?
But it's not like that, is my point, Eric. Like that, you're saying out of good civic duty, wear the mask. But out here today in West Virginia, it is a completely different scene of California. People aren't wearing the masks. Walmart, everywhere you go, there are just as many, if not more, people not wearing masks than there are wearing the mask. That's a different scene than California. They all seem to be aware of the virus. Maybe they've seen more dead bodies, whatever it may be.
Well,
the risk is more real
like,
there.
though?
I can't remember offhand, but it was a lot higher here, but they have a higher population.
Sure.
And I just feel like at this point we've seen higher population places like that are handling it better, I thought.
Yeah.
It seemed like.
And people here, like you were saying, like the ADA and health restrictions on these. People are like instantly coming out with this. We're in a Second Amendment, like me first kind of thing.
And a lot of what it is kind of like a undercover rebellious attitude. It'll be a certain type of person will come in and pop the mask off while we're in conversation or in transaction and say, "Oh, I'm done with this. Can't wait till it's over." Ha ha ha.
Right.
Laugh about it. And not necessarily be upset when I say, "Well, you got to put it back on, sir." Yada yada.
My point is the death rate is at an all-time low. Cases are up, so I believe more tests are being done. More people are going to test positive, but the death rate is going down. I'm watching the death rate. I want to know, are we piling bodies up? But I read another article that makes you think outside of that thought of, yes, the death rate's going down, but how many more people are in the hospitals that could overload it if you get a certain percentage? You take a large number like 300 million, you take a percentage of that,
Well, I think
you're at 3 million. That would overload the hospitals.
I mean,
I think a lot of...
At one point, we had a problem where we didn't have enough cases to fill hospitals. There was a U.S. Navy cruiser, I think, was stationed outside Washington.
That was the
Florida.
first wave, yes.
That was the first wave.
Yes.
They only saw 214 patients in their totality. They only saw 214 patients. They were prepared for 100,000.
So the media misled, or that was the final count?
I don't know if it was the final count.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was some kind of underpreparedness from the public and not trying to get themselves tested, or the availability not being there, or that was just a care facility and less so much of testing.
Or maybe the tests weren't as good.
Or maybe the
so
tests
more
weren't
people
as
were
good.
coming in. Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I just find it a little odd that we'll see these numbers inflated now, but at the same time we had these underwhelming turnouts and underwhelming numbers of. Example, West Virginia was the last state to break a COVID case.
Yeah,
we were the last state to remain immune.
And we still
But
remain
you know
on the
that.
lowest.
You know that. But what's the most recent change they've made that we're not going to get back?
We doubled up in cases just recently.
Right, but you know that.
I'm sorry, you said recent change.
You know that statistic. But what's the most recent thing they've taken from us? We're not going to get back. We're not paying attention to those things.
Curfews.
We're not paying attention to those things.
I didn't even think about that.
Curfews.
There are
I didn't
so
even think
many
about
freedoms and so many things that they are taking from us right now that we're not going to get back. We're not going to see the cashier at Kroger not behind plexiglass ever again.
Oh, my company's told me 100% we don't think the masks are going away.
It's not going to happen. There are so many things that are maybe more malicious than that aren't going to come back.
Sure.
And it's very interesting to me that we're focused on the number of cases, who's got the most cases, what country's handling it the best, what did President Donald Trump say today?
How are we going to handle it in the future? What is and I
this
hate,
is the experiment.
I hate the phrase, but what is the new normal going to look like? Well, I hate the phrase, but what is it really
What's
going
the new
to look
normal
like?
if this happens again?
This is why they're setting all this stuff up.
What if it happens worse?
In 3 months.
In 3 months.
That's what they're prepping for, in my opinion. Because
well, that's what the expectation is too. I mean,
Correct.
look at the Spanish flu. It's the
That's
most
why they're
similar,
running
it's the
data.
most similar viral content I suppose we have. I mean, first wave I think was something like 32 million. Next was 150.
yeah.
So I feel like that's
crazy.
almost indicative.
There's so many things that are changing and we're not going to get back. From going to a restaurant and having to wear a mask until you get your meal. To probably having to wear a mask when you ride a public bus now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. There's so many changes that they're going to take away from us, and
currency. Just for it's on record for our podcast, they're no longer giving back coins at a lot of establishments.
I have a coin shortage going on right now. I can only withdraw $100 in change, period, from my bank weekly.
Oh, you're lucky. I wasn't able to order change for 2 weeks.
Really?
I had absolutely no change.
Just relying off of your safe.
Yeah, had absolutely no change. Oh, I'm relying on my customers.
Oh, goodness.
I'm relying on my customers to give me change.
It's almost embarrassing asking my customer, can you please give me a smaller bill instead of the $100 bill you're offering me for the $10 shoe you're purchasing? Normally it's not a factor, but right now.
There's a lot of things that we're not going to get back, guys, and I think that's something that we need to focus on.
But luckily, I do think we're going to be here for a little while to try to keep you guys updated on any kind of future content, any kind of changes in our local atmosphere, scene, and what may happen in the future.
For any updates on any flavor bans or anything like that, locally in our area, there's the Ohio OHVTA, the Ohio Vape Trade Association. You can look them up on Facebook. There's usually postings about everything going on nationwide. I can't remember the others off the top of my head. That's my main source.
CDC.gov will also help you handle any kind of public relations, any kind of public awareness and public changes. If you're curious about your business place as well, please contact your employer because they do have their own guidelines at the moment. Obviously following state regulations, federal assumed. Please contact your employer with any questions regarding.
And we'll put a link down underneath of this. If Eric, is that something that you can do, Eric? I'll have Eric put a link down underneath once I get the organization. That's usually the VTA is really good, but we'll give the exact link to go on to, stay up to date, and then be in contact with your state representatives. Those are the guys that are voting on flavor bans and stuff like that. It's happening at the state level, so you need to be aware and awake.
All right, guys. It was great to have you. Come back and listen another time.
See you next time.
3 Broken Chairs signing out.